Good evening, Tony Dottino. My goodness, it's already the first week of September has kind of whizzed by us as we go into the heart of September. And I guess it's autumn leaves and USA Memory Championship on September the 23rd. As I continue to watch the daily weather, look at the number of tropical storms and centers that do create a little bit of angst as we want to make sure that the weather conditions are safe for our mental athletes as they come into the Orlando airport on the 22nd to get ready for the final championship on the 23rd. And we'll edit that and we'll get that out on the 24th on YouTube. So you'll be able to see it edited on that point, as well as our speakers. So as we go through that, we've had some great suggestions in changing the sequencing of the events. One of the things that we have is a long-term memory event. And so on the 22nd of August, the mental athletes were given about 2,000 bits of information from medal winners to retain and study. And so they're, honorary medal winners for the United States service. And they're given two categories and questions and things. And so what happens is they have to retain this information for 30 days. It's our long-term memory event. And the point of what I'm trying to make at right now is it was suggested that because the finalists all have to remember this information, it's a shame that they all don't get to demonstrate their long-term memory capacities. And so there was a suggestion that we put that event first. And so as we thought about that, rather than doing the random words and then the three strikes and you're out on the words, we decided to move the long-term memory event into the first round after the Lumosity seeding events goes. So we're making a change, and we're going to suggest that we do that event first, and this way everybody gets the benefit of the hard work they've put into retaining these various bits of information that we have given them. So that's our schedule for the 24th that you'll see in September. And then we'll follow that with the words to remember, and that's a listing of 300 words, and those people, which will have 9 people at that point, will get 15 minutes to remember as many of those words as possible. And we'll wrap that event up and follow it with the Tea Party, where we have 5 people that will be pre-recorded, so it's very consistent and we have it well controlled so it's fair to everyone. And they will come out and give information about themselves, which will include some numbers, we'll have some list. Certainly we'll have their name that people will have to match up to their face. And it demonstrates the various skills of the whole event consolidated. So the numbers and the list and the words and the names and faces will all be packaged into our Tea Party. And what's always great about that is anybody watching this can see it and see how well their memories work and how well they are able to retain information about people that they meet on the street. And well, gee, how did the mental athletes do that? And what skills are they using? How do they remember the numbers of a phone number or an address? How do they put together the list? Are they using multiple systems in order to bring all of that information together? What we do when we meet people at events. We meet them in networking events. And so wouldn't it be great if at a networking event you can meet 3 or 4 people and be able to have a good conversation of things that you remember about them, and you meet them at dinner or coffee, you meet them at a break, and you can pick up on the conversation, and you can just go back to the conversation and just reflect on what you remember about them and be impressive in terms of, wow, this person really is pretty smart because they remembered some of the key information about me. And so as I meet people, and boy, have I been meeting people in the medical world over the last few weeks, as Evelyn has gone through her medical issues and challenges, and I'm going through some of my own, meeting a number of different medical people. And first, always want to make sure I learn something about them. Maybe it's their name that's unique, and Maybe it's something that they've got on, or I can ask them what the origin of their name is, or how long have they been in the medical world, and how have they managed to stay and deal with the COVID and the lockdowns and their own personal health and their families and things of that sort. And it's great when you can see them and remember that stuff and pick up some of those conversations a little bit later. So, for example, I was doing a nuclear stress test today and getting to meet a couple of the folks that I was talking with. So, Valerie is one that was wonderful, and I got to talk to her a little bit. And she has got a little bit of a gimp. Her back is bothering her a little bit, and so I got to learn a little bit about her working and the family. And then as I came back and had to go through different stages of it, I was able to pick up those different elements of our conversation and just have her have a good conversation, which to me helps me deal with the stress of doing a stress test, right? It's an interesting dichotomy of taking a stress test and being stressed about it. So how do you take these different skills and we package those up into the USA Memory Championship? And that's what we call our tea party. In 3 strikes, you're out of the party. So we'll go from the long-term memory event where they've had 2,000 bits of data. We'll bring it then to the word list where they have 300 words that they have 15 minutes to remember as many as they can. And it's always head-to-head, meaning the first person gets the first word, and the second person gets the second word, and the third person. And so we keep going until people miss, and then they chug out. Now, we had another strike out or eliminate themselves. We had another great suggestion that, well, when we go through that and we have eliminated, why don't we see how far the mental athletes can carry the questions in the long-term memory? How far can they carry the word list? How far can they carry the tea party? And so we're going to eliminate people in each of these events, but then we're going to allow the remaining people to just basically check out as they have to remember as much as they can, and we can get to see, well, how much do they really remember? So, for example, in the long-term memory, as soon as we have people that have missed a couple of data elements in the memory of long-term, we stop the event. Well, it was suggested that, my goodness, they put so much hard work into this. Why don't we allow that event to continue until everybody has at least had a chance to miss and see how far we could go in the event. And I always remember that because usually when the event is over and we go out and we have dinner and we get some cocktails or maybe some food, they'll sit around the table and they'll just poke at how much more they remembered that did not have to come up during the actual competition. It's always impressive to listen to these men and women and what they've done and their capacities. So it was suggested we let our home audience, folks that are going to watch this on YouTube, allow them to get to see how far these people are able to go. So that's the long term. Then we have the words, and we're going to do the tea party, which I've already talked about. And then our final event, which is, we've always talked about how to reshuffle that. It's our 2 decks of cards. So they get 2 shuffled decks of cards, and we usually got 3 people left, and they have 5 minutes to remember the order, and then they have to start calling out the cards. And so it's always an interesting event because people are always interested. How did they remember the order of the deck of cards? And for those that like to go to casinos and or card places, it's always interesting. How teach me how to remember the order of a deck of cards, so when I go play somewhere at a casino or a club or whatever, I can do that. And that's where we eventually come up with who our champion is. And so that's the way that this is now scheduled to go. So the 4 events will start with that at 11 o'clock on the 23rd. So if you're in the area and you'd like to come to Full Sail University, send me an email at adottino, that's adottino at AOL.com, and let me know that you'd be interested in being an actual live spectator at the championship, and we'll arrange to have you come into the studio and be a part of our audience, which has limited capacity, but you're welcome to come in and do that. And believe it or not, we have just come to another Friday. I guess it's tennis wrapping up here at the U.S. Open here in Queens, New York. We have lots of college football games that are coming on this weekend, and lo and behold, we already had our first upset of the NFL season as the Detroit Lions came from someplace and beat the defending champions, Kansas City Chiefs, on Thursday evening. So we have Sunday matchups, and the Giants are playing the Dallas Cowboys that night, and the Jets are playing the Buffalo Bills on Monday night. And so, my goodness, we've got big-time NFL football starting its 17-week season this coming weekend. So with all that, hopefully your teams get to win and you get to watch something that you enjoy, and we have pleasant weathers, and I see we have storms and we're watching hurricanes, but that you be safe and stay with us on the USA Memory Championship website. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.